Hey there, my name is AJ Pickett and I make videos about role-playing games, and lots of them. I upload twice a week with a live stream every weekend. You can also find me on Subscribestar, Patreon and Discord, Facebook and Twitter. Also, there is an option to join the channel as a member, and I welcome any suggestions and questions you have in the comments section below as always. If you like this video or this channel, please hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell and hit that like button if you would be so kind. Back to Spelljammer and one of the weirder species of intelligent aliens who are active across the prime material plane. Special thanks out to the Discord chat group that I was in who mentioned this monster. This one is called the Aartuk. Now, I like my aliens nice and alien looking, and the Aartuk does not disappoint. The Aartuk are nomadic, sapient vegetables. That's right, they're plants, organised into small tribes. They have a body like a starfish made of corded tree roots that have spikes and bulbous growths in various places, with tongue-like organs that extend and retract from the ends of their root-like limbs. Unlike starfish, they don't lay flat on their back, they stand 6 feet tall on 2 or 3 of the 5 limbs that they walk around upright with. The limbs also have suction cups on their tip that allow them to hold onto vertical or inverted surfaces. The cups are the bulbous parts that their retractable pseudopod tongue-like organs extend from, which allow them to manipulate and handle objects like sticky fingers. The head of the Aartuk snakes out of the middle of the body and a 6-foot-long neck, or it's also called a stem, an oblong shape with a hole surrounded by 3 black lumps. These lumps are the sensory organs of the Aartuk, which allow it to detect others via smell and vibrations. They don't have eyes, but their very fine heat detection provides the equivalent of vision. The details of their coloration and the overall aesthetic depends entirely on the environment of their origin. Aartuk come in a variety of strains. Each tribe will consist entirely of the same strain. There are tribes of grey specimens that favour sandy or very dusty environments. Some tribes look more like rough stones, ranging from light brown to dark grey. Other tribes let mosses, mushrooms and other small plants grow on their limbs. These types generally prefer to live in dense foliage. In all cases, Aartuk are capable of concealing themselves in their natural environment very well, and when away from their original habitat will decorate and modify their personal living quarters to better resemble and feel like their native environment. So if they take over a spelljamming ship, that's exactly what it ends up looking like. They are an air-breathing species. They need to travel within ships to store sufficient air, food and water for long journeys. They have a unique advantage when it comes to air quality though, and supply on board their ships via the elder Aartuk of the tribe, who is able to filter out stale air and refresh enough oxygen sufficient for up to 50 other Aartuk. One elder leads each tribe. All the tribes are religious fanatics that view war as the ultimate form of art. As a species, they live and die for war, which is linked to their religion and their reproductive system, which I'll discuss in more detail later in this video. They have a tragic backstory. They once had a homeworld, but it was destroyed by the Beholder race, known to most in the prime material plane as the Tyrants. Did they once have a peaceful aspect to their culture? Who knows? What remains are the survivors, who are all descended from those who salvaged whatever they could escape with into wild space, and since then their culture has been built entirely around seeking their revenge. The tribe will target and overrun isolated warships, taking any resources and ships as intact as they can, so they can continue to exist as a nomadic culture who hunt down beholders with much the same dedication that the githyanki hunt down mind flayers. Along the way, the elders maintain the traditions and adopt anything that supports their survival and their mission. Aartuk worship deities of various origins, although these are all evil patrons of war, generally speaking. Some tribes have adopted the worship of human deities or those of other monstrous creatures. The elder provides the clerical guidance for one specific deity, as the Aartuk elders are the only ones that can cast divine magic out of their entire species. Aartuk normally burn their dead and keep the ashes and any magical items they owned, if any, within urns. These urns are taboo, and no Aartuk dares tamper with these for fear of waking the dead. They'd also see it as a great offence for somebody to ransack and go through those urns. Thanks to their atmosphere recycling, they have much less pressure about how many people they can have on board. They're actually more likely than most other races out in the phlogiston to take prisoners at all. They will question any prisoners they get, seeking more resources and information of tyrant whereabouts and activities. They will also single out any spellcasters capable of piloting spelljamming helms, as obviously only the elder Aartuk, who are spellcasters, can do this, and they need to operate a number of warships in order to be an effective raiding tribe. Different Aartuk tribes occasionally ally to attack larger targets, but they generally have no intertribal contact. They can't risk too many of their species being vulnerable to extermination in one location. That happened before, and they will never be that vulnerable again. The tyrants don't have any idea how many Aartuk now exist, and most likely neither do the Aartuk. Or those elders who do, thanks to information granted by the gods, keep it safe and sound and deeply forbidden knowledge shared with no one. Aartuk physiology is very well suited to warfare in wild space. They are agile and strong with natural weaponry. The hole in the Aartuk head is not their mouth, it's their weapon. Their real mouth is a small opening underneath their body. Speaking of mouths, they are omnivores with a wide capacity to take in nourishment from all sorts of sources. They do normally cook their food and have a sophisticated palate, which is a surprise for a plant species, but human prisoners or trading envoys or combat allies can be treated to amazing banquets, just as long as they remember that few flavours are off limits to the Aartuk, so some caution is advised. Definitely sniff the food before taking a bite and never trust the best before date on Aartuk food rations. Also be aware that the Aartuk reproduce by viral infection and transformation of victims, so perhaps don't eat anything at all. More on that in a moment. In combat, the Aartuk have two main combat weapons. One is the ability to excrete a glob of resin from glands inside their long neck. This instantly hardens on contact with air as they exhale explosively to fire a resin pellet, much like an air rifle. The resin pellet inflicts 1d4 bludgeoning damage, is +3 to hit with a normal range of 30 feet and a long range of 120 feet. With the Elder Aartuk, the resin pellets are fired at twice the normal range and can be enchanted using their spell magic to damage targets that would normally only be hurt by magical weapons. Also, they spark on impact, the Elder Aartuk's pellets, meaning that in the flammable rainbow mist of the phlogiston, their projectiles can cause limited area of effect explosions that inflict 5d6 fire damage to anything within 10 feet of the point of impact. You can spot an Aartuk Elder by the way they fire their pellets, as they protectively and instinctually wrap their legs forward to shield their body instinctually against any potential blowback explosion. It's just a habit. Even while engaged in melee combat, the Aartuk will fire off one pellet per round without any close combat penalties. They can also choose to make an entangle attack with their very sticky, gooey tongue that they can shoot out up to 30 feet long from the Aartuk's neck. And on successful attack, the victim must make a DC 12 dexterity save or become grappled. An opposed strength roll is required to escape, and the victim receives a -1 penalty for every round of continuous entanglement because the tongue keeps coating them in the sticky goo and wrapping around them tighter and tighter. The Aartuk can then withdraw a body towards its centre at a rate of 5 feet per round as a bonus action, and during this effort they may actually fall down flat and lock those suction cups on the ground to give them better traction. If a grappled creature is within 5 feet of the Aartuk, it can use its action to constrict the grappling creature, suddenly wrapping those legs around it and dealing 1d8 + 1 bludgeoning damage per round as they basically bear hug them like a crab. However, there is much more horrific aspect to this prolonged crushing attack, so let's talk about Aartuk reproduction and why the species is generally of lawful evil alignment, even though they can behave in different ways. The reproductive cycle of Aartuk is related to their obsession with war. They reproduce by infecting an unconscious opponent with a virus, which simply requires pressing their tongue into an open wound for 3 rounds, and of course they can easily inflict an open wound in seconds to an unconscious victim. This infection can be cured by most magical means, but if left unchecked, transforms the victim's flesh into jelly over the course of a few days. From the blob of jelly, a new Aartuk emerges within 1 month, fully adult, carrying the memories of the Aartuk who had infected the victim, so it's basically a clone. Aartuk view the gift of birth as a sign of respect and honour towards the victim. It's a religious ritual that is usually overseen by the elder of the tribe. As you might expect, Aartuk have no gender. They understand what gender is in other species though. They can also understand what children and juveniles are, but they have none in their own species. They do not have parents. They do not experience childhood. The one that spawned them, who shares their memories, is really just another sibling in the tribe, and the tribe is their family. They are not totally xenophobic to other tribes. It is possible for an Aartuk from another tribe to be adopted, particularly those who are without an elder, though they must be the same general appearance and environmental preference, the same strain. The Orphan will offer great war trophies to be accepted by the new Elder. It's not unheard of to encounter drifting warships of the Aartuk who have lost helm pilots and their Elder in the last battle. They will assess the situation and either attempt to overpower the rescue ship and take their helm pilot, or they will negotiate for a portion of their war trophies and gems in order to buy passage to another location. They do actually tend to keep their word, thanks to being lawful evil, and respect reasonable agreements. Once the arrangement is done, though, they are not a species that is interested in becoming friends. Probably the best tactic is to hail them as heroes, offer support for their war efforts, provide information freely, hope they don't need anything you can't afford to lose, and that they can't spare the time to strip your ship for parts and abduct your pilot. Since the Aartuk don't manufacture their own spelljamming ships, it can be very difficult to identify them out in space unless you know exactly what you're looking for. Aartuk language sounds like rustles, snaps, clicks, whistles, and popping sounds. They have different dialects for each of their different environmental strains, and the Elder and various other older members they refer to as aristocrats, who are undergoing their blossoming, will speak other languages such as human, common tongue, elven, draconic, beholder, illithid, arcane, or neogi. They also trade for the spelljamming ships occasionally from the arcane, and from derelict ships that the neogi pick up. The process of becoming an Elder, the blossoming, happens when they reach a certain age, between 70 and 90 years old. In older editions, this is when they reach a certain level of hit dice. They sprout growths that may be flowers, mushrooms, rocky growths, or some such, depending on their strain, and they become the social status of aristocrats within the tribe, treated with a lot of respect and deference, and no longer expected to perform any menial tasks, but instead served by others. The blossoming lasts for just a year, and then they wither and fall off, these blossoms, at which point the aristocrat will either pass a constitution saving throw and undertake the metamorphosis into an Elder, or they will shrivel up and die. The transformation involves completely shedding their thick, leathery outer bark and a small increase in size as the new bark grows in, bringing a refreshed vitality and strength. Elder Aartuk are completely immune to any magic that would control or manipulate plants or change their shape. They gain the ability to cast divine magic, and they also smell distinctly like Elders from that point on, with for those who have a superior sense of smell, which includes all other Aartuk, of course. Elders live for another 40 to 60 years and will leave the tribe with a small contingent of warriors, one spelljamming ship, some captive pilots, and some treasure to form a new tribe. If there is a new Elder on a ship and no spare ship to give them, the two Elders will fight a traditional duel to the death to determine who shall lead the tribe from then on. Dead Aartuk, even dead Elders, provide no useful arcane ingredients. However, the slime coating their tongue makes a good glue when boiled and concentrated. Also, their tongues can make average quality rope. It's a bit grisly, but if you don't know what you're looking at. Beholders make a delicacy out of fermented Elder sap, which they call Aartukia. One Elder has enough sap to produce one small keg of the rather noxious stuff, which only has value to beholders, who will buy it for several thousand gold pieces. Aartuk do not value precious metals as other than their value to other species. Their currency amongst their own kind is gemstones, magical weapons, and art pieces related to war, including a lot of beholder fangs and preserved eyeballs, which they keep as trophies, along with bits of their ships and things. They also have some magic craft of their own, the rare Aartuk neck torques that they wear around the base of their head stalks, within the center cavity of their bodies. These items house any sort of enchantment that one would find on a magical ring. A humanoid can wear an Aartuk torque as an arm bracer. Wearing more than one causes them both to not function. They are always found on the body of an aristocrat or an Elder, not other warriors. And the Aartuk can't make use of any other sort of magical items. They do not fight using the weapons of other species, despite the one illustration showing them holding a weapon. They're not actually using it in combat. In fact, they don't use their limbs in combat at all unless it's to crush a grappled victim. However, I advise against ever trying to arm wrestle one of them unless you're looking to have your arm broken. While it's not completely unheard of for a stranded Aartuk to get used to the company and strange customs of other species, perhaps even joining an adventuring party, the moment they find a tribe of their own strain, they will immediately seek to become adopted by it and rejoin the glorious war with the hated tyrants who must be utterly annihilated and wiped from the records and songs of history. If you want to have an interesting conversation with an Aartuk, given the opportunity, try asking them what they plan to do once all the beholders are dead and gone. Most of them have never actually considered the concept, and the answers can be delightfully random. You can find some very good adaptations of the warrior and elder type Aartuk stat blocks created by Goodness Gracious on the D&D Beyond website in the homebrew monster listings. Well done, Goodness Gracious. I have links to them down below. I would love to see someone create a player character version for 5th edition as well. I'll also include a link to the stat blocks of their D20 version, which should be suitable for Pathfinder players to adapt. You can find the original listings within the 2nd edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Monstrous Compendium number 7, Appendix for Spelljammer. Please hit the like button if you made it this far, subscribe if you like what I do, check out my Subscribestar or Patreon links for all the full scripts for these videos, buy some Teespring merchandise, wear your geek with pride, and as always, thanks for listening, and I'll be back with more for you very soon.